Hey, this is Clayton Lawrence, the super heavyweight boxer for Team ISV, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Cy Thompson, laser sailor for Team ISV, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
This is your high hurdle specialist, Eddie Lovett, for Team VI, and you're tuned in to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Laverne Jones for Virgin Islands 4-time Olympian and 6th fastest female in the 60-meter history. Tune in to VIOC in action to learn about athletes and what motivates us. Remember, teamwork make the dream work.
All right, greetings and welcome to VIOC in action. This is your host, Neil Bobby Thomas. Thank you for joining me here on the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee's informational radio show. And this show will definitely be information. And as I've been doing a little bit of research, we're going to do a lot of talking about the Olympics, the entire Olympic movement, understanding of the Olympics. We're going to start from probably the beginner's guide, which teaches just the basics about the Olympics. And we're probably going to wrap it up with, I'm thinking, the understanding the Olympic movement. This is pretty much a TED Talk. One of the TED Talks that are so frequent out there. They're professionals and people who are involved in all kinds of different aspects of the topic that they are involved in. We're going to have a TED Talk about understanding the Olympic movement. Again, it is indeed a movement. It is that grand of an item. When you mention the Olympics, you are talking about a global movement. And Johnny Quinn is going to do his TED Talk, basically understanding the Olympic movement. And for those of you who don't know Johnny Quinn, basically college athlete, got drafted into the NFL, was cut, and then went to another team, was cut, and then went to the CFL and got injured and was cut. And then I think he ended up doing Olympic bobsledding or, one of those events. So you will get his perspective on understanding the Olympic mindset. So that's a TED Talk we're going to kind of include in today's show, along with, of course, our staple guide to understanding, the beginner's guide to understanding the Olympics. And I'm probably going to insert the Professor Jim Perry, his talk on the Olympic movement as well. And a couple others. I want to break it down to the youngest listeners as well. So there's going to be all about the Olympics for kids. And it's going to be kind of a history and the symbols of Olympics. And this is from all stuff that you can find online. It's open source information. It's encouraged just to listen to the different aspects that speak to Olympic and the Olympic movement and stuff. So, it's just information that's out there that I want everyone to take part in. So, just information. That's what it's all about here today on this show. So it'll be lots of information going on the Olympic movement, the understanding of the rings, and the understanding of the mindset. So let's get to it. We're going to hit you with our very familiar beginner's guide to the Olympics.
Maybe it's Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, or Lindsey Vonn. Or maybe it's Kathy Freeman, Seb Coe, or Nadia Comaneci. We all know the Olympic Games, right? Every 4 years, the world comes together, more than 200 countries, and the best athletes compete for a medal, and we're all watching. But have you ever wondered what's behind the Games? How is it all organized? Who puts it all together? And yes, who pays for it? Well, most of us know it all began a long time ago, 3,000 years ago to be precise, in ancient Greece. But someone, Pierre de Coubertin, had the bright idea to bring it all back. And to do that, he set up the International Olympic Committee, a little over 100 years ago. But the IOC couldn't do it all alone, and still can't. They need a little help from their friends. So, who does what? Each of the sports that takes part in the Olympic Games has an international federation that runs the sport all year round. From rules to referees to records, that's their job. And then there are the more than 200 national Olympic committees around the world. Their job is to select the best athletes and get them ready for the Games. So, we've got the sports and we've got the athletes, and we can get them to the Games. But then there's the host city, which brings the whole thing to life. And that's a big job, and that's a long job. 7 years from the moment the IOC chooses the host city until the moment the cauldron is lit and the Games begin. Think about all the things that need to be done to make the Games happen. Not just the stadiums, the pools, the ski slopes, but where are the athletes going to stay? What are they going to eat? And how are they going to get to their events? That's what the organizing committee does. It's a very big job, and it takes all those 7 years working with the IOC to get it done. And sometimes it can be a bumpy journey. In the summer, there are 10,500 athletes competing in 28 sports, and they have coaches, doctors, trainers, friends, and family. In the winter, it's about 2,500 athletes in 7 sports, and they need a lot of people too. And think about the equipment. Several hundred pairs of skis in the winter. In the summer, the equestrian athletes need their horses, and the rowers need their boats. They've all got to be delivered to the right place at the right time in good condition, especially the horses. Okay, so it's a big task, that's for sure. And someone has to pay for it. So, where does the money come from? A large part comes from broadcast rights. Broadcasters pay to air the Games in their country. More than half the world's population watched at least some of London 2012. And we also partner with some of the world's leading companies who provide funding for the Games and the more than 200 Olympic teams and their athletes. They also supply products and expertise that help the Games run smoothly. So, the Games are paid for mainly by the IOC and the organizing committee. But governments sometimes take the opportunity of the Games to build or improve roads or airports or housing. That can also leave a lasting benefit for the city. But you're probably wondering what happens to the money that's left over and what goes on between the Games. The good news is that the money that's left goes back into sport. More than 90% is redistributed to sport around the world. Not just to help the Olympic Games, but to develop sport. After all, the Olympics is about using sport to make the world a better place. Some of the money goes in scholarships to help fund athletes in their training. It might help pay for a coach for a promising sprinter, or provide transportation for a skater to get to the Games. And we fund sport where you play too. We support your National Olympic Committee and local sports groups. And we work with other groups like the United Nations to bring sport, equipment, and kit to schools and local clubs. We spend a lot of time contributing to building a better world through sport. For example, there's the Youth Olympic Games, helping young athletes to live the Olympic dream and its values. And we use events like Olympic Day, June 23rd, to try to get you to do sport. We want the world to get active and live a healthy lifestyle. And we want to ensure women get the same access to sport as men. At the Olympics, all sports are now open to women, and every single nation has now sent women to the Games. We also want to make sure the competition is fair, so we support the athletes and the fight against doping. And then finally, when it's all over and an athlete has run his last race or swam her last length, the IOC also works to try to help them get jobs. When you've spent your whole young life committed to excellence in sport, sometimes you forget about your future, and that's where we lend a helping hand. So, we all love the Olympic Games, but the Olympics is about more than just 2 weeks every 4 years. We work all year round, using sport to make the world a better place. To find out more, have a look at our website, olympic.org.
Olympic.org, that's a great source for looking into more information concerning the Olympics and all things that relate to the Olympics. You know, man, the information on Olympic.org, it goes back years, pretty much years to the beginning of the Olympic Games and all of the movements, the global initiatives that are going on, the processes. You see from the beginning of the processes, from the bidding, from everything, you get to see what's going on when it comes to Olympics. So that right there, that was a beginner's guide to the Olympics, right? And I have another short little something I want to play, and this one is all about the Olympics for kids, and it's talking about the symbols of the Olympics, right? So we have the beginner's guide, and we're going to have the history of the symbols of the Olympics. We'll probably take a break after that, and then we'll get into the other that I mentioned, like the Olympic movement, and then understanding the Olympic movement, and then understanding the Olympic mindset. So let's tune in and listen to all about the Olympics. This one is for our younger listeners, and it's the symbols, the history of the symbols of Olympics. So let's do that now.
Every few years, thousands of the finest athletes in the world gather together to compete in the Olympic Games. They come from hundreds of countries, from all parts of the globe, and for the length of the Games, the world comes together on common ground in a celebration of peace and unity. But what are the Olympics? The first Olympic Games took place in Greece nearly 3,000 years ago in 776 BC. They were athletic competitions held in honor of Zeus, the king of the gods. The Games happened every 4 years, and during the Games there was an Olympic truce when wars and battles were not allowed, so that the athletes from different cities could travel safely to and from the Games. Originally, the Olympic Games only had one event, a short race across a stadium. But through the years, more events were added, including boxing, wrestling, long jump, throwing javelins and discus, and chariot racing. In the ancient Olympics, only men were allowed to compete. The winners were awarded a wreath or crown of olive branches, which was a great honor, and often received money and other prizes. The final games of the ancient Olympics were held in 393 AD, ending a tradition of over 1,000 years. It wasn't until almost 1,500 years later that someone tried to hold the Olympics again. Small events modeled after the ancient Olympics were held in various places in Europe off and on for over 100 years, until the International Olympic Committee was created in 1894 by Baron Pierre de Coubertin of France. The first games organized by the VIOC took place in Athens, Greece in 1896 and featured 241 athletes from 14 countries. Since that small beginning, many things have changed. Women first competed in the Olympics in 1900. The Olympics were expanded to include winter sports like skiing and figure skating, and special Winter Olympics were held to make that possible. Parallel Olympics, now known as the Paralympics, began to be held for athletes with disabilities. Not so long ago, Youth Games were introduced, which allows athletes between the age of 14 and 18 to compete. Today, the Olympic Games are held every 2 years, with Summer Olympics and Winter Olympics alternating, so that there are 4 years between each Summer Olympic Games and 4 years between each Winter Olympic Games. These are only some of the differences between the ancient Olympics and the modern Olympic Games. While the ancient Olympics were held in the same place each time, the modern Olympics are held in different cities around the world. In the ancient Olympics, winners were awarded olive branches, but in the modern Olympics, the victors receive medals. Third place wins bronze, second place wins silver, and first place gets a gold medal. The gold medals are not actually made of solid gold, however. They are made of silver covered with a thin layer of gold. Another important symbol of the Olympics is the Olympic rings. 5 interlocking rings of blue, yellow, black, green, and red on a white background. The colors of the rings were chosen because every flag in the world at the time had at least one of those colors on it. Each of the 5 rings represents one of the inhabited continents of the world. North and South America are counted as one, along with Africa, Asia, Europe, and Australia. After the rings, one of the most important symbols of the Olympics is the Olympic flame, or torch. The lighting of the torch is a reminder of the ancient Greek myth when Prometheus stole fire from the god Zeus to give it to humans. Before each Olympics, the torch is lit in a special ceremony at the site of the ancient Olympics in Olympia, Greece. It travels around Greece and then begins a special journey to the city that will host the Olympics. During the opening ceremonies of the Games, the torch is used to light a huge cauldron, which stays burning until the Olympics' last day. When the flame is put out, it means the official end of the Games. The goal of the Olympics is to help build a better, more peaceful world through international cooperation, friendship, and the love of the Games. The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part, just as the most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Olympics today. Goodbye till next time.
All right, and that one was all about the Olympic symbols and basically talked about the rings and stuff. So, it's giving you education on all levels when we've had the beginner's guide and we move towards more geared towards the children with that right there. But it's just about time for us to get our first break here on VIOC in action. So we will take our break and be right back.
Skeleton Racer for Team ISV, and you are listening to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Tim Pitts, 2004 Olympic sailor for the Virgin Islands, sailing the laser class on VIOC in action.
This is Mr. One Time for the One Time, Leon Hunt, long jump record holder for Team VI. Thank you for logging on to VIOC in action.
Alrighty, and welcome back to VIOC in action. This is your host, Athneil Bobby Thomas, and we're doing a little bit of taking you through different perspectives of understanding the Olympics and the Olympic Games. We started out with the beginner's guide. Then we had a little quick something all about the Olympic symbols, dealing with the rings. So torn between doing Professor Perry or going to one of those understanding the Olympic movement decoded. I think I'm going to yield to the Olympic movement decoded, because after we do Professor Perry, which explains the Olympic movement, I want to go to Johnny Quinn, who is going to talk about his TED Talk on the Olympic mindset. So let's do the Olympic movement decoded now, and then we'll do Professor Perry talking about the Olympic, his perspective on the Olympic movement, and then we'll do Johnny Quinn. So right now we're going to have the Olympic movement decoded. In a few, because my fat fingers press one button too quick.
for a capacity crowd of 16,200 wild-eyed fans. As display, the winner for the USA.
Zatopek has the crowd on its feet. There goes the tape and the record.
The Olympic Games, the ultimate sporting event, bringing the world together in celebration of all that's best in us.
21-jährigen Bob Beamon werden diese Minuten nicht vergessen.
And for the billions that watched the drama unfold, a belief in their almost mythical ability to unite and inspire. Have you ever wondered where it all started? Who organises the games? Who pays for them? And what, if anything, happens in all that time in between games? Well, let's take a look behind the scenes and find out. The story began almost 3,000 years ago with the Olympic Games of ancient Greece. Inspired by these games and convinced that sport was a springboard for renewed moral energy, French academic and sportsman Pierre de Coubertin revived both the sporting competitions and their innate values. The International Olympic Committee was formed to run the Games, and so the modern Olympic movement began. The first Olympic Games of the modern era took place in 1896 in Athens. But it wasn't until 1914 that one of today's most widely recognised flags appeared, the Olympic flag, with its 5 interlocking rings, designed by de Coubertin. The rings symbolised the union of the 5 continents and the meeting of athletes from across the world at the Olympic Games. And it is that unifying spirit that makes the Games unique, with its mission, its values, and its rich symbolism. In 1928 in Amsterdam, a symbolic fire was lit for the first time. This was followed 8 years later by the tradition of the Olympic torch relay. Today, the flame is still lit in Olympia before embarking on its journey through the host country, forming a bridge between the ancient and modern games. It's a movement steeped in its history, but one that has evolved dramatically since its beginnings. So who exactly is it today that has the responsibility for bringing the Games to a world stage? Here, from its headquarters in Lausanne, Switzerland, and well over 100 years since its creation, the International Olympic Committee still leads the Olympic movement. Its mission? To promote Olympic values, to ensure the regular celebration of the Games, and to educate young people through sport. The IOC is made up of a maximum of 115 members, including the President. IOC members are volunteers, elected by their peers during the General Assembly, called the IOC session. They include sports administrators and experts in specific fields, with over a quarter being Olympic athletes. They represent the IOC and the Olympic movement in their respective countries. The IOC members meet at least once a year at the IOC session. This is when important decisions are taken, such as the election of future Olympic host cities, as well as which sports will be part of the Games programme. And there are more than 200 national Olympic committees around the world, known as NOCs. They're responsible for organising their athletes' participation in the Games. They also encourage Olympic education and work with the IOC to promote the Olympic movement and its values. The athletes are at the heart of the Olympic movement, raising the profile of sport across their communities and becoming role models for future generations. Over 10,000 athletes from over 200 countries compete in 28 different sports at the Summer Games, while the Winter Games feature 7 sports, with more than 2,500 athletes from over 80 countries. For each Olympic sport, there's an international federation, which governs that sport around the world and is the umbrella of affiliated national federations. They oversee all technical aspects of the sport, including at games time. They also guarantee the regular organisation of competitions, as well as respect for the rules.
The games of the 32nd Olympiad in 2020 are awarded to the city of Tokyo.
Once a host city is chosen, it forms an OCOG. That's an organising committee for the Olympic Games. It's a long journey, starting 7 years before the Games, and includes delivering the venues and the Olympic Village, as well as providing essential services to run a smooth Games, such as ticketing, transport and technology. Throughout the entire life cycle of an OCOG, the IOC, through its Coordination Commission and with the expertise of its staff, monitors the progress of preparations and assists the OCOG in its complex task. It's a great responsibility for a host city, but also a great opportunity to create lasting change. And sustainable legacies are very much a fundamental commitment of the Olympic movement. As one of the world's largest sporting events, the Games can be a tremendous catalyst for change, with the potential to create far more than just good memories once the final medals have been awarded. The IOC receives no public money. It's a non-governmental, not-for-profit organisation. So, how's it financed? The IOC's revenues mainly come from the sale of broadcast rights for the Olympic Games and through its worldwide sponsorship programme. Over 90% of the revenue generated by these programmes goes back to sport and is distributed to the organisations within the Olympic movement, including the national Olympic committees and the international federations. A shining example is the Olympic Solidarity Programme, where a share of the TV revenues from the Games is used to ensure that athletes from every background and all regions of the world can fulfil their Olympic dreams. At Beijing in 2008, and supported by an Olympic scholarship, Rahula Nikpai won a bronze in Taekwondo, the first Afghan athlete ever to win an Olympic medal. He is one of thousands of athletes who have benefited from this programme. The 2 weeks of awe-inspiring sport takes place every 2 years and in so many ways defines the magic of the Games. But there's more to the story than that. What goes on in between is also intrinsic to the Olympic movement. In 2010, the IOC added the Youth Olympic Games for athletes aged 15 to 18. The Youth Olympic Games is the highest level global multi-sport event and integrates sport, education and culture, inspiring young athletes to live by the Olympic values and become role models. In between the Games, the IOC, together with different stakeholders, also carries out a range of social and community projects that may take less of the spotlight, but still have a huge impact around the world. These programs include Sport for All initiatives, promoting sport as a human right for all individuals regardless of race, gender and social class. And development through sport projects, helping to bring sport to local communities around the world with a special emphasis on developing countries. Sport for Peace projects have also been successfully developed to bring different ethnic groups together peacefully. And through many other initiatives, the IOC and its partners promote education through sport, protection of the environment, and are constantly striving to promote women in sport on and off the field of play. So, When you experience the excitement and the emotion of the Olympics, you now know it's the result of the everyday work of a huge number of individuals and organisations. The Olympic movement, national Olympic committees, the international sports federations, and of course the International Olympic Committee that works with these and with the organising committee of each edition of the Games, whether summer or winter. And whilst the Games continue to deliver 2 weeks of unmatched sporting endeavour, the IOC and the Olympic movement ensure that the original ideas of the founder of the modern movement, Pierre de Coubertin, is woven into its fabric all year round. And the belief that the Olympic movement can contribute to building a better world through sport continues to burn just as brightly today.
And that's the piece on the Olympic movement decoded. And, you know, it's just different perspectives, so you can get a kind of a wide range of understanding of how people look at Olympics, the Olympic movement, the Olympic mindset. The understand it's just a lot of information, and it's all there for you to take in. Wondering if I should hit you with one more before we take our final break. Yeah, let's do that. This one will take us pretty close towards the end of the show. So we're not going to do Professor Perry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the TED Talk. The TED Talk is the longest of all of the segments that we're playing. So again, this is coming from an athlete who probably all his life has been into sports. He's been a college football player. You know, drafted into the NFL. First team cut him, picked up by a second team, cut him, and he went to Canada. He went to the CFL to play football and got injured and then was released again, but then found his way into Olympics. So he is giving you an example of the mindset, understanding the Olympic mindset. This is Johnny Quinn. So let's hear his segment on the understanding the Olympic mindset.
Imagine with me, you're at the top of a mountain, minus 29 degrees, competitors everywhere. You get to the start block, you strap your helmet on, there with your teammates, getting ready to push a 500-pound machine down an icy mountain, going 80 miles an hour with no seatbelts. It's a crazy, crazy ride. My friends, that is bobsled. And I had the unique opportunity to represent the United States of America on the Olympic bobsled team, to wear the red, white, and blue. I mean, to be a small part of the athlete delegation to compete on the world's greatest stage athletically. It was unbelievable. But it didn't start there. See, I have a professional football background. At 22 years old, I entered the NFL. I signed my first deal with the Buffalo Bills. Got some Bills fans in here today. I get to Buffalo, and I get cut. Next year, I get picked up by the Green Bay Packers. We got any Packer fans in here today? We got a couple. I'm in Green Bay a little bit longer, but I get cut again. Agent calls, says, Johnny, I can't find a team in the NFL. I'm sending you north to the Canadian Football League. Did you know they played football in Canada? I had no idea. I go to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We got some Rider fans in here today. I like it. And so I'm in Saskatchewan. I make the team. I earn a starting spot on the roster. I'm getting great film. It's only a matter of time before my agent gets me back on track. I score my first professional football touchdown. I mean, to cross that end zone as a pro football player, it was unbelievable. And then 1 week later, I blow out my knee, torn ACL. And shortly after that, I was cut again. See, when things get tough, and they do, you and I know this, how do you give more? And so when I think of plus, when I think of in addition, when I think of giving more, what does that look like in real life? What does that look like in your life? And so I'm going to walk us through 4 foundational truths when it comes to giving more, regardless of your background, regardless of your personality, regardless of your belief system. See, it all begins with a decision. There's always a decision. A decision has to be made. Are you all in or are you not? We can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If it goes well, I'm part of the team. If it doesn't, see, I told you. We have to be all in. Now, here's the reality. Can you get through life with never making a big decision? Unfortunately, my friends, the answer to that question is yes, but you will never reach your full potential. And see, if you struggle with commitment, this is a very tough step. But if you want to give more in life, especially during tough times, a decision has to be made. Are you all in? Because what you're going to find is once you make a decision, there is a price to pay. Oh, there's a price. Doesn't have to be financial. I guess it could be. Doesn't have to be. You know, it was interesting. A lot of people don't know this, but Olympic sports in the United States, they are all self-funded. And so when I go out and say, I'm a Texas bobsledder, they say, what in the world is that? And I remember after my first race on the bobsled, I go up to the guys and said, hey, when do we get our checks? No checks. And you want me to do this for 4 years? See, there's a price to pay to giving more. Again, it doesn't have to be financial. Maybe the price is getting off an isolated island and learning how to collaborate as a productive team member. Maybe that's the price. And see, this is where we lose a couple people, right? Because when we make a decision, we're all in. We've got company wristbands. We've got a hashtag. Everybody's wearing the shirt. And then we see there's a cost associated with it. And we lose a couple people here. Because once you pay that price, there is always pain. Doesn't have to be physical pain. I guess it could be. You know, in bobsled, when you take this 500-pound machine down this mountain 80 miles an hour, we wear these Kevlar vests for safety. I've had 8 crashes in my career. I don't want any more crashes. They do not feel good. But after getting up the 9th time, I became a United States Olympian. See, there's going to be pain involved in your journey to giving more. I don't know what that is for you. But here's where we lose a lot of people. Because it hurts. See, it gets too tough. Not knowing that we were on a linear progression of giving more. Because at the end, there is always a reward. Always. See, it might not come when you anticipate, right? It might not come the way you think it's going to come. But at the end, there is always a reward. But here's the catch. See, when I made the switch from pro football to Olympic sports and Olympic sports to business, there's a catch in life to giving more. There's what I like to call a daily battle that we all face. Every single morning, there is a daily battle, and it does not go away. As a matter of fact, you will fight this daily battle every breath of your life until you take your last breath. Any guesses on what this daily battle is? What we face every single day. Here it is. Here's what we face. We face comparison versus contentment. Right? Comparison says, well, if I look at everybody else and what everybody else has, then maybe I could get the job done. See, comparison looks at everybody else, where a healthy form of contentment finds a way to get the job done. A healthy form of contentment is not complacency. A healthy form of contentment is not laziness. A healthy form of contentment gives more to get the job done. And when I was in the NFL, I lost a lot of days to this battle. I lost a lot of days to comparison. I mean, maybe if I was 4 inches taller, I could have played longer. Maybe if I had a bigger named agent, I could have played longer. Maybe if I went to a bigger university, I could have played longer. See, I wasted a lot of days to comparison. Or when I made the switch to Olympic sports, I was not perfect, but I started winning more these days with this healthy form of contentment. See, the ideal bobsledder, if you could chisel the ideal bobsledder in the Olympic Games, they're 6'3", 235 pounds. I'm 5'11" and 7/8. And I'm 220, but I'm going to find a way to get the job done. And here's the thing about this daily battle, is that it doesn't matter where you live. See, it doesn't matter what you drive. It doesn't matter where you vacation. Every single morning when you get out of bed, you get to choose. Am I going to walk in comparison today or a healthy form of contentment? And that's a choice. You know, it's interesting, these concepts of making a decision, paying the price, right? There's going to be pain, a rewards involved. See, what happens is sometimes we put up these fences, and these fences of what I like to call pride. These fences creep up and say, wait a second, that's an interesting concept, but you don't know me. You don't know my background. You don't know what I've experienced before. And so there's no room for change. We have this pride that doesn't want us to change. So let me ask you this question. If you're a parent in here, I already know the answer. Would you lay your life down for your child? As a matter of fact, you would. I know that. You know that. We all know that. So let me get this straight. You would lay your life down for your child, but you wouldn't change for your child? See, every morning when you get out of bed, I'm not asking you to lay down your life. I'm asking you to change for more. For your children, for this next generation, for the people that you do life with. You know, every day in the NFL and CFL, I didn't know if I was getting cut or going home. I didn't know what it was. Every day was different. But today, I am a United States Olympian. I don't know where you're at today, but what I do know is that tomorrow can look different. And my friends, I've got some wonderful news. You get to choose, and that choice is giving more. Thank you so much for your time.
Imagine your choice is giving more. That's Johnny Quinn doing his TED Talk, and was about the understanding the Olympic mindset. So, there's lots of different perspectives out there concerning the Olympics and the Olympic movement. So, we're right up on that time for our second break. So, we'll take our break here, final break for VIOC in action, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Sydney Paul, member of the Virgin Islands National Bowling Team, and you're listening to VIOC in action.
Hi, this is Adrian Durant, coach for the VI National Track and Field Team. Set your goals and work hard to achieve them. Believe in yourself, and anything is possible. Tune into VIOC in action to learn how you can take your game to the next level. And remember, if it's to be, it's up to me.
This is Dr. Jerry Smith, physical therapist with the VI Olympic Committee. To unleash the elite athlete in you, the key ingredients are good nutrition, hard work, and dedication. Give yourself what you need to get in and stay in the game. Tune into VIOC in action for tips and fun activities to unleash the elite athlete in you.
All right, and we had a great show. We're giving you different perspectives about the information concerning the Olympic movement and understanding all things Olympics. And what it brings us to is the Virgin Islands. So I'm going to hit you with a quick, let me see. Let me just give you, give you the VIOC moment in history. And this talks about the basically the beginning of the VIOC and the fact that we are here now. And it is all part of the understanding of the Olympic movement. So here it is, the VIOC moment in history for the VIOC. Hey, well, it's time now for VIOC moment in history. In 1966, several sports-minded citizens of the Virgin Islands agreed that something had to be done to provide our athletes with a better chance to compete on the international level. The first requirement was to affiliate at least 5 sports to their respective international federations by convincing these international federations that their sports were active in the Virgin Islands and that our athletes could compete on a regional level. 6 sports affiliated: track and field, yachting, weightlifting, basketball, fencing, and volleyball. As a result of a major lobbying effort to the International Olympic Committee, the Virgin Islands was granted permission to participate on a trial basis in the 1966 San Juan Central American and Caribbean Games. Despite many difficulties, Carl Plaskett, Ivan David, Listen Sproul, Rudy Thompson, and John Hamber won medals. As a result, the Virgin Islands was granted full membership status in the International Olympic Committee. The Virgin Islands Olympic Committee was built on that auspicious beginning, and with the exception of the boycotted 1980 Olympics in Moscow, has sent a team to every Central American and Caribbean, Pan American, and Olympic competition since 1966. The Virgin Islands Olympic Committee's first Olympic medal was won in 1988 at the Seoul Olympics. The VIOC has grown from its original 6 federations now to 22. Virgin Islands is extremely grateful to the VIOC founders, Calvin Whitley, Julio Francis Edwards, Vern Colwood, Len Stein, Tracy Jackal, for having the foresight, courage, stamina, and determination to bring the Virgin Islands into the Olympic arena. This is your VIOC moment in history. And that's where it all leads. That's where it all stems from, all the understanding of the Olympic movement. It's about getting us to join and sit at that table with all of those powerful nations across the globe that are equaled when they sit as colleagues when it comes to the Olympics. So it's a very, very important message that we, the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee, under the leadership of President Angel Chico Morales, Vice President for St. Croix John Abramson, Vice President for St. Thomas and John Anson Sliger, our Secretary General Lynn Reed, and our Treasurer Joe Bushelty, want to make everyone understand that the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee stands shoulder to shoulder with those other entities, Team USA, Team Canada, Team Russia. We have a seat at the table with them, so let us not take it for granted and understand the importance of being a member of the Olympic Committee and having a seat at the table. Don't forget, if you want to contact the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee, you can call us during working hours at 340-719-8462. 340-719-8462. Or you could send us an email to noc@virginislandsolympics.org, or just go straight to the website, www.virginislandsolympics.org. If you're one of those that love Facebook, check us out at www.facebook.com/Virgin Islands Olympics. And if you want to send us that tweet, we're on Twitter, and our handle is @Team ISV. And you know, we have those two very important individuals I'd like to let you know how much they appreciate it, just as I do, your host, Anthony Bobby Thomas. Thank you for tuning in to VIOC in action, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, this is Lynn Reed, Secretary General of the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee. Wanted to thank you for listening to VIOC in action.
This is Angel Chico Morales, President of the Virgin Islands Olympic Committee, thanking you for joining us on VIOC in action.